And today I'm going to show you how to make this little Christmas tree earring. I've made one, we'll make the second one in this video. I'm hoping you can see it well because the dark colors and on my little tiny screen that I can look at, it's hard to see, but I think you can see it there. And we have a little clear crystal at the top for our star or tree top or whatever you want it to be. Now, if you use a gold or a silver or even a champagne color or something, probably show up a little bit better than the clear crystal for the tree topper. But as you can see, both sides are embellished so that you can see it as you're coming and going, and that also kind of helps stiffen up the design so that it hangs nicely. But let's go ahead and look and see what we need to make the earrings today. Okay, for this project today, you're going to need 2 colors of Bicone crystals, and I'm using an emerald and a ruby, cyan ruby, Swarovski crystal. Now, altogether, right now, I have out only enough for 1 earring, but altogether, for your earrings, for 2 earrings, you're going to need 54 of the green ones and 24 of the red ones. Of course, if you don't want to use red, you don't have to. You don't necessarily have to use green if you don't want to. But altogether, you're going to need 54 of your main color and 24 of your accent color to decorate the tree with. Your top beads, I'm using a clear Swarovski because I used it on my first one and I want this one to match it. So you will need 2 of another color for your tree topper. So this is also a 4mm Bicone crystal, as are these. And it's a Swarovski also. But you can use any type of crystal you want. Then you will need 15 seed beads and 11 seed beads, and you will not need a lot, especially with the 11. You won't need very many at all. We just need a few of them here and there. And I'm using Tohos, and they are the galvanized silver Tohos. One's, like I said, a 15 and the other's an 11. You will need 2 ear wires, and I'm using a silver-plated lever back. You will also need 2 wire guardians, and I'm just using little silver-plated wire guardians also. Then you will need a size 10 beading needle, 8-pound Fireline, or 6-pound you could use, but 8-pound will work better because we want this to be, this tree to have some form, so the 8-pound works really well. And you will need to thread onto your needle a full wingspan to get started. And we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so let's get started by picking up 5 Bicone crystals onto our needle. And we're going to start with the green color. So you need 5 of your main color, which I'm making a tree, so mine's going to be green. And we're going to bring them down to the end of the thread. You don't have to leave a long tail, just enough to tie a knot with. And so once you get them down there, go ahead and tie a nice little overhand knot here. Make sure your knot goes down between your beads and not over the top of them. And if you have issues with that, you can always tie your knot further away and then slip it down the thread. That works fine too. Just like this. Now we're going to, see, my knot is not real secure, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew back through all of these beads again to make sure my base is nice and secure. I don't want to tie a huge knot because we're sewing through these beads again and it can block the holes, get in the way, so I just tie a small knot to keep it from slipping like crazy, and then I sew back through until I go 1 bead past my knot. So my knot is here. I'm going to go up into this bead here. Okay, so now that I'm coming out of this bead here. It doesn't matter which one, just go one past where your knot is, because you're going to be sewing through this particular bead quite a bit. It's going to be the tip of your tree, and you don't want your knot to be in the way and block the hole, because it will get a little thread tight as we finish this up, because like I said, we sew through this bead a little bit more than we do the other beads. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add the tree top part here, the little clear crystals, and then we'll move down to the other half of our little unit here and make the tree from the bottom. So how we're going to do this is we're going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead, an 11-0 seed bead, a clear bicone crystal, let me get it, and then a wire guardian onto our needle. So this is what I have. I'm going to drop this down to my little unit. I'm going to get you close so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I just have this all laying down, coming out of the side of this little bicone here. I'm going to hold on to my wire protector. I'm going to go down through the other side and then through the bicone crystal again, but not the little seed beads on the other side of the bicone crystal. I'm going to hold on to my wire protector, everything, squeeze it with my finger and my thumb, and guide my thread right into the top divot of that wire protector, and then slide it down until it's flush on top of my bead. And then I'm just going to squeeze the wire protector over the top of the bead a little bit so that it's not all over the place, because it's a little wider than the bead, so I'm going to narrow it so it's the same size at the top of the bead. And then I'm going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead and a 15-0 seed bead. We started coming out of this side of this little bicone crystal. We're going to go into the opposite side now to even it all up. And pull tight. And this is what you will have. We'll sew back through this one more time just to secure it. So we'll go up through the 11-0, the 15-0, the 11-0, and the crystal. Then go back up through one side of the wire protector. Go through the other side of the wire protector and the crystal. You can go through the 11-0 and 15-0 underneath too. If you can get them all at once, that's great. But remember to put your thumb and your finger and squeeze that wire protector so that this little piece of thread goes right down into the wire protector. Just like that. And then let's straighten out our wire protector. I'm going to use just a little pair of chain nose pliers and just kind of squeeze them together. And then I'm going to come back through the bicone crystal on the unit here. Now I'm going to cut this tail just a little bit. I'm not going to cut it completely because it's still not all that secure, but I'm going to cut it some so that I don't have this in my way as I'm sewing and making my tree. So I just cut my tail a little bit here. And I'm hoping I wasn't completely out of camera on that. I just squeezed shut my little wire protector a little bit, sewn up through the bicone crystal, and now I have my connection for my ear wire complete and the top of my tree complete. So what we're going to do is we're going to back off a little bit so I stay in frame, and we're going to start our tree design. Now I'm going to try to leave it laying this way so that it's the correct direction for you to look at it as I sew this. This is a whole lot like the Lucky Diamond earrings. It's just a smaller version, and we're only going to do half of it because we're going to make a triangle instead of a diamond with this. But it's a lot like it. Each unit, this unit has started with 5. We're going to divide it in half on the bottom here. So we're going to work out of this bead and this bead to start our tree. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew down into the next bicone crystal we're next to. I'm going to turn this over so it's more accessible to my right hand. So I'm just going to sew through this side bead, and then I'm going to sew through this little bottom bead here. Just like that. Now this first unit we made with 5 of our seed bead, or of our crystals, simply because, I'm going to see if I can get a better angle. I don't know if that's any better or not. But we made the first one with 5 so that we would have the tip of the tree here. Our next units are going to have 6 beads in them, but we'll include beads from previous units. So if we're going to make each unit with 6 beads, and I'm coming out of this bead, I'm going to include this bead into my next unit, I need to pick up 5 on my needle. So I'm going to pick up 5 green crystals onto my needle, like this. I'm coming out of this side of this very bottom bead here, and I'm going to go into the opposite side and pull. And now I have a little bit bigger circle than my top here, just like this. I'm going to sew all the way around all of these beads that I have just added onto my previous unit. If you do not sew through them and you just start your next unit, your tree will be very wobbly. It just doesn't look as pretty. So don't skip doing this. Plus this also reinforces everything and makes things a lot stronger, because crystals can always catch your thread and you don't want that to happen. So now if you look at this, you've got the top of the tree and the very beginning side of the tree. Now we need to make another unit on this side to make a little triangle. So we're going to use this bead and this bead in our next unit. So we'll sew up into this one here. And if we're going to make a unit of 6 and we're going to use this bead and this bead, we will need to pick up 4 bicones to finish that unit. So we're going to pick up 4 bicone crystals. And we're coming out of this little bead on the bottom of the very first unit we made. And we're going to come through this side bead of the second unit we made, just like this. Pull the thread through. Then go through the bead on the first unit, right here, to connect it. And now we have a complete unit of 6 here too. So if you count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You count this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's a perfect little unit here. Now I'm going to sew all the way around it and exit this bottom bead right here, so that I can make another layer of beads. So first I've got to just sew around every single bead in this particular unit to secure it. And that's what I'm going to do. If you have to take one at a time, that's fine. Just take one at a time. If you can do more than one, that's great too. Doesn't really matter. Now I've sewn all the way around, but on my next 2 units, I need to start on the most outside unit, bottom bead here. So I need to make my next unit from this bead, and then I'll make one in the middle, and then I'll make my last one from this bead. So I need to sew down to this bead right here. Now we don't want the outside of the tree. This is the outside of the tree. This is making our angle. We know we want this bead right here because it's more towards the inside. If we made it from this side, right, this one right here, our tree would be shaped like this. We don't want to shape like this. We want to shape like a triangle. So let's sew down into this bottom bead here. I'm sewing upside down, so it may look a little awkward, and it is. Okay, so I'm coming out of this bead right here now. And this should all be the right direction for you too, so it shouldn't be that confusing because I'm holding it the way you would be looking at the piece, not the way I would be looking at the piece. So we're coming out of this bead right here. If we have one bead that we're going to use in our unit, then and we want a 6 bead unit, we need to pick up 5 beads. So pick up 2, 3, 4, 5 beads. And we're coming out of this one here. We're going to go into the opposite side of this bead. So I'm going to bring my needle around to this side and pull. Now you can see how that's starting to make a longer triangle. I'm going to sew around this entire unit. Again, just like we've been doing after we make a unit, sew around it. Like I said, you could just go into making your next unit, but I don't recommend that. It's just not going to be stiff enough, and it's going to be sloppy if you do that. Okay. Now we need to make a middle unit, and you can see how this kind of curves around. So if this is curving around like this, that means that we want to use all 3 of these beads in our next unit. So we're coming out of this bead here. We're going to sew down, coming out of this bead right here. We're going to sew down into this one, and I will show you clearly. And the camera's at kind of a funny angle, so I have to lift this up so you can see it. So we want to be coming out of this bead right here. We're going to add, if we're going to use this bead, and this bead, we need to add 3 more beads. So we're going to pick up 3 beads onto our needle. Like so. And we're coming out of this one, we're going to go into this one and connect all the beads together to make our circle. So now we have to sew through this one and this one to connect it, and then we'll sew around the entire unit. Now I'm going to sew around it one more time just because this is right in the center, so I have to sew all the way around so I can get down to these beads here to add my last unit. So I'm going to sew all the way down. I'm going to sew into these 2 bottom beads here, right here. This is the very bottom of my tree. I need to make one more unit right here. So I am going to, let's back up just a little bit. I am going to pick up, so first what we need to do is get up into this bead right here, because we're going to use this bead and this bead in our next unit. So we've got to hop up into this one. We'll hop over into this one. Now we've got 2 beads already in our unit, so let's pick up 4 beads. Just like this. We're coming out of this bead, we're going to go into this bead, just like this, and we've got our last unit. Now we're going to sew all the way around this unit, just so that we've got it nice and secure also, just like the rest of the units. I'm going to come up into this connecting bead right here. I'm going to get a little closer again so we can do the bottom bead of our tree. But okay, so I'm coming up here. So I have sewn all the way around this entire unit. I'm coming out of this bead right here. Now, let me lay it down so you can see it really well. So I'm coming out of this bead here. I'm going to sew all the way around these until I exit this bead right here. So it will be the very bottom bead of the very middle circle. So what I'm going to do is just sew up through this one. thread caught. And then down through these two, right here. Camera is at such an angle, I can't hold this straight enough for you guys to see. Okay, and then I'm going to come down into this bead right here and just exit between the two little beads right here. Let's see if I can get this at a better. Okay, so we're exiting right here between these two beads. What we're going to do is we're going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead. Then we're going to pick up our last, for our unit, for our earring, our last little green crystal. Then we're going to pick up an 11-0. So a 15-0, a green bicone, and an 11-0. You're going to bring this down between these two beads, right on the bottom here. You're going to go around the 11-0, up through the crystal, but not through the 15-0, just up through the crystal. Pull the 11-0 tight and the crystal tight like this, and then pick up a 15-0 seed bead. And then you're going to go into the next crystal right here. So we're going to go up through this crystal. Just like that. And you just have to kind of sew and arrange everything to make that nice and pretty. And I'm going to get a little closer here. See if I can get a better straight on shot. So, now I gotta rearrange again. Oh, jeez. Okay, right there. So now, we're coming out of this little bicone crystal here. We're going to sew all the way up to this middle bicone here so we can add our first embellishment. So all of our embellishments are going to go between the middle of the two units. So if you think of them in half, it's 3 crystals on one side and 3 crystals on the other. You'll be going right between the middle of them. So what we're going to do is, we're coming out of this crystal here on this side. We're going to sew all the way up to this crystal and exit this far side. So let's sew up here. And then let's sew into this one. And now I'm in the middle of this middle unit on the bottom. So we're exiting right here now. And we're going to add our first little embellishment. So we're going to pick up 2 15-0 seed beads, then a red bicone crystal, and 2 15-0 seed beads, like this, onto a needle. Now we're coming out of this little area right here. We're going to go directly down into the middle beads here. So what we're going to do is go right into this one, right here. And you can go into the one behind it too, if you can. No, let's just go into one. Once you go into this bottom bead, that's split right down the middle of this unit, so you'll have 3 crystals on this side now, 3 crystals on this side. Your little embellishment will lay directly across the middle here. Now you're coming out of this bead right here. We're going to sew all the way around this unit to the division here so that we can make another embellishment and then work our way up the tree. And on our way around, we'll add a little 11-0 seed bead here. So what we're going to do is, actually we're coming out of this little bead on the bottom here. So we're going to come up here into this one. And we're just going to sew our way around this very corner unit here so that we can get all the way around for our next embellishment. So just pull your thread through the crystals. Now, when you get to this corner, right here, we're going to put a little 11-0 seed bead there. So pick up an 11-0, and then you will sew into this crystal here and exit it because then you'll be in the middle of your unit and you'll be in position for your embellishment. So just go through the bottom crystal and pull the little 11 out into the corner here, just like this. And then pick up two 15-0 seed beads. Come here, 15-0. And a red crystal, and then two more 15-0 seed beads. And then you are going to sew up, you're coming out here, you're going to sew into this crystal, and then you'll be in the middle of this unit and you can embellish it. So just go into this little crystal right here. I'll show you. I know my hand's in the way. Right here. Pull your embellishment across the middle of this bottom unit here, like this. Just like that. And now you're in the middle of this unit so that you can embellish it. So pick up two 15-0 seed beads, a red bicone crystal, and two 15-0 seed beads. And then you're coming out here, you're going to come into here, into this crystal here, exit out this way. So you'll come into this crystal, exit here, and then that way you'll be in the middle of this unit. So let's sew into this crystal right here, just like this, and pull it through like that. You can cut off that little piece of tail anytime you want to. Now we're coming out of this one. Now this little top one is a little bit different. We're going to do this embellishment a little bit differently. So what we have to do on this one, this embellishment, is we're coming out of the middle here, but we don't have a middle to go into here. So we'll have to go through our bead and then back down through our embellishment. So the way we'll do that is we're going to do it just like we normally do to start with. We're going to pick up two 15-0s, a red bicone crystal, and two 15-0s. Like this. Now we're coming out of this middle part right here. We're going to go into this side of the top crystal. So I'm just going to pick it up and sew right into the top crystal and pull my embellishment down. Then I'm going to pick up two more 15-0 seed beads. Let's get a little closer so you can see what I'm doing. So I've laid this right across. You can see it's coming out here. Now I'm going to go into the little bicone crystal again. I've got two 15-0 seed beads on my needle. I'm going to go into the bicone crystal and then down into the two 15-0s on the bottom also, just like this. And then we're going to pull the needle through. And that is what that should look like. Let's back off again. Now we need to get over to this little middle here. So we'll sew down into this bicone and be in the middle of this unit. So I'm going to go right directly into the bicone, right underneath my 15-0s where I'm exiting, and go down into this bicone here. And now I'm in the middle of this unit and I can start my embellishment there. So let me back off a little bit again, just a little too close. I'm going to pick up two 15-0 seed beads and a crystal, and then two 15-0 seed beads. And I am coming out here. I'm going to sew down into here, exit this way so that my thread is in the middle of this unit. So I'm coming out here. I'm going to go into this crystal here. Just like this. And my embellishment is laying perfectly around there. Now, instead of well, I guess we could. We can either sew around here, put our 11-0 in, and then come out here, or, yeah, or we can put our embellishment on first. Either way will work. Let's go ahead and put our embellishment on. So pick up 2 15-0s, a bicone crystal, and 2 15-0s, like this. And then we're going to go into this crystal here and exit on this side so that we can put our little 11-0. Let's see if I can get my hand here. Sewing upside down is a little weird. There we go. My little embellishment doesn't want to lay right. There we go. Now we're going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead. We're coming out of this crystal. We're going to go there. We're going to go directly into this crystal here and come up through like this. Now we have one side completely finished their embellishments, as you can see. Now we're going to turn this over, and I'm going to turn it so it's the right direction for you. We're going to sew up through this bead into the middle and do our embellishments. We're going to do exactly like we did on the other side. And I will do the first one with you, and then we'll do the rest of them off camera. You just have to remember to sew around until you can get in the proper position. When you get to the top one, you have to do it the same way you did it on the other side with the two little 15-0s. So let's go ahead and do our first embellishment here. Now, I am not coming out of the middle here. I need to come up here to be out of the middle of this unit. So I need to go up one more little bead here, just like this. I need to pick up 2 15-0 seed beads and a red crystal, like this, and then 2 more 15-0 seed beads. I'm going to go from here to here. So through this bottom bead here, like this. Bring my embellishment up. And that one is complete, just like that. Then I will sew up. I'm coming out of this bead here. I'll sew into this little green bead here. And then I'll sew into the two. Now you could either go this way and finish this whole bottom row and then move your way back up. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do this embellishment here. Since I'm right in line, I'm going to go ahead and pick up 2 15-0s. It really doesn't matter. As long as you're in the right position, you can sew around these crystals as many times as you want to position your needle. So the path that you take does not have to be a particular one. So I've got 2 15-0s, a red bicone crystal, 2 15-0s, and I'm going to go this direction into this top one here. Maybe. I've got to turn it around. Sorry guys, I just can't sew like that for very long. Okay, and turn it back this way. Just like that. Now, we're going to continue doing our embellishments till we're done, and then we'll just sew through and tie off. Now remember, we're in position right here for the top one. Maybe we'll just do that one together so that you don't get confused on how to do that one. So what I'm going to do is, we'll go ahead and do this. We're coming out of the middle here. We'll pick up 2 15-0 seed beads and a red crystal and 2 15-0 seed beads. Now we're coming out here. We're going to go into this side of the middle crystal because remember, we don't have a division down the center here. So we have to go into the crystal right here, the top crystal. and pull our embellishment down. And then we will pick up 2 more 15-0 seed beads, and then we will go into the Bicone crystal and into the 15-0s underneath the Bicone crystal that we just added, just like this, and pull that through. And then now we're coming out of the 15-0s. We're going to go into this next Bicone right next to the 15-0s, right here, in the very next unit. It'll put you centered in the next circle, right there. And go ahead and put your last 3 embellishments on. When you're done with that, sew through some of your main body of the green crystals, grab a few half-hitch knots, tie off, cut off your thread, burn the thread down, burn your tail thread down, cut it down more, and burn it down, and we'll be back. Okay, so I'm just about to put my last embellishment on. I decided to go ahead and just do this on camera because people will be asking me what the heck I'm talking about. So we'll just do it. We'll pick up 2 15-0 seed beads and a red Bicone crystal, and then 2 more 15-0 seed beads. If I can get them to get on my needle, they're just running around all over my bead mat. There we go. Just like this. Now, I put this crystal on, and I'm now coming out. I came out this direction so that I can be centered here. So I'm coming out of this bead right here. I am going to go into the bottom beads here, right down the center of my unit, just like this, and pull my last embellishment into place, like that. Now, right here, I'm going to grab a half-hitch knot right on this thread bridge right next to this 11-0 seed bead, right here. Make sure your last embellishment is tight before you do this, or you'll have a loose embellishment, and you won't be able to tighten it. And pull this into place, nice and tight like that. And then sew up through this little 11-0. Sew into your unit. I pulled that 11-0 really tight. There we go. We'll go up into this one here. And then we will go into here. So just follow your thread path. Don't cross intersections. What I mean by that is wherever you originally went, go ahead and sew. Don't sew from like here to this bead, because then you'll have a big piece of thread showing. You have to sew around the units. And then once you've sewn around and you've got it fairly secure, let's go down into this bead here. And beads are getting a little thread tight. I'm going to pull this through here. And you can sew through as much as you want. I'm just going to kind of cut that short since I'm on film. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut my thread. And then I'm going to grab my little lighter. And I have left a little piece of thread here, you can see. And I'm just going to melt it down until it turns into a little blob. And then it's a little long. It was a little too long. So I'm going to melt it down a little bit more. And then I'm just going to kind of tuck it down between the beads. And then this one, I'm going to cut a little shorter because it's just a little too long to blob. It just doesn't do well, just like you saw. And it still didn't cut that well because my scissors are dull. So I'm just going to blob it down. And it's going to be a big blob, but there we go. It's like that. And then we're going to pick up an ear wire. Here, let me back off, it's too close. And I'm going to open the hoop on the ear wire, the little loop, from side to side like this. I'm going to slide it onto the wire protector, and I'm going to close the loop. Like this. And then I'm going to grab my other ear ring, And then I'm going to pick them up and on my bead scoop here and let you see what they look like. Now, I'm going to turn this one over like this and like this. And I'm going to back off. Oh, this camera's driving me crazy today. I can't get it right, no matter how hard I try. I'm trying to hold this so they're not all at a strange angle. My camera's at a funny angle today, and I can't seem to finish, or I can't seem to fix it. So, there you go. That's what those look like. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. They really are really cute. Let me get you a really close shot so you can see them. They're really adorable little earrings. I hope you make a few and have a Merry Christmas. I'll probably be back before then with something else. But just in case, have a good holiday and be creative. Bye-bye.